Let's talk about, we got this story from the New York Post. Jen Psaki breaks down while discussing harsh and cruel LGBTQ legislation.
Oh, sounds mean. Sounds like there's some mean laws.
Yeah.
Here we go.
there.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki began sobbing during an interview this week as she talked about a spate of bills that critics say are targeting gay and transgender children, claiming that kids are being used as weapons in a political culture war. Psaki was asked during the interview with News Not Noise podcast about legislation like Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay bill, which prohibits the discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade, as well as instruction on those topics, and in a place and manner that's not age appropriate. Quote, "This is a political wedge issue and an attempt to win a culture war," Psaki said as she began audibly weeping. And they're doing that in a way that is harsh and cruel to a community of kids. I'm going to get emotional about this issue because it's horrible. But it's like kids who are bullied and all these leaders are taking steps to hurt them and hurt their lives and hurt their families. And you look at some of these laws in these states and it's going after parents who are in loving relationships who have kids. It's completely outrageous. Sorry, this is an issue that makes me completely crazy. Jen Psaki is a sociopath.
I don't want completely crazy people in government.
Well,
She admitted it.
Not going to get anyone
So
else.
first of all, the New York Post should not be calling it LGBTQ legislation. New York Post, Mark Moore, you should correct this because the parental rights and education has more to do with parents having access to information about the schools, and gender identity and orientation is also about being straight. It's just orientation, which could be straight or not, in which case it is just legislation on sex ed. And it's not even that. It's the parental rights and education bill. So get that right. Jen Psaki knows this. Look, we are well past the point where I'm going to assume Jen Psaki doesn't know about what this bill is. She's crying crocodile tears to manipulate people because liberals are people who, according to Jonathan Haidt's research, are more interested in care and fairness, more emotional aspects, as opposed to sanctity, purity, authority, loyalty, etc., liberty. So when you approach a conservative and they have 6 moral foundations, there's authority and loyalty, there is sanctity, purity, things like that. And you say dryly and as matter-of-factly, they're going to say, okay, the left needs to win by making you cry, by crying and begging for care, begging for sympathy. So when Jen starts crying, she wants people to go, "Oh, Jen, it's so, aw."
Well, it's so embarrassing. I mean, I remember after...
No, but it works.
Freaking North
It
Korea.
works
Care
with
what you
some
think.
people. One thing that I saw after the 2016 election that really struck me was the fact that they were posting pictures of themselves crying. And I thought, how can you have such little dignity that you think that's a good look? I would be mortified. First of all, if I cried over an election and I was sitting there bawling my eyes out, you can believe I wouldn't be posting pictures of it on the internet the next day as if that was a good look for me.
As we're talking about it, I'm thinking Hitler's girlfriend probably cried when he killed himself. Like, yeah, crying emotional doesn't mean you're right. People get emotional about evil if they're on the side of evil. So
Yeah,
this girl's
them.
totally lost it.
Yeah.
I've watched murderers cry in videos of, like, they're in a criminal trial and they're crying.
I think Psaki's outsized role in the White House is something worth discussing beyond the points that you're making about her misleading and false statements. It's almost as if she's presidential. You know, they issued a statement from Jen Psaki on, I don't know, something had passed just last week or something that they objected to. And it was a statement as if the president had issued it. It was a statement by White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. And I remember thinking, well, this is odd. It sounds presidential. And to me, her outsized role in this administration is further indication of the diminished cognitive abilities of the president of the United States.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Come on, man.
She is running. Yeah, come on, boy. She is running the show, and certainly beyond any normal press secretary.